Alright, so today we are doing a valve cover gasket replacement on a 2001 Dodge Ram. This is the 5.9 liter, but this should work for pretty much any of the V8s from 1998 up well through 2001 and later. Be sure to check to see if this applies to your truck as well. Should apply to most. The telltale sign for why this needs to be replaced, kind of a burning oil smell, and you can kind of see down, if you look in there you can see it's kind of wet along here, so kind of showed it was time to replace the valve cover gaskets. So I've already got a couple things taken off. You can see I've removed the air box, kind of see this already off, covering up where it used to be, keep things like dirt and dust out. You can see air box and hose, pulled them off just to make this a little easier. So what you kind of do with both of these is I'm going to go ahead and pull up any of these spark plug holders here, kind of pull them up from these the studs here, and you're going to have 4 per side. So you kind of see here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's 5 per side. One in the back right there, that you can see right back there. So 5 per side. Kind of go through, work your way around, remove any hoses that are in the way. You kind of see in the back here, it's kind of a tricky way this attaches to the stud back there. I'm going to show you a little tip I found made that very, very easy to pull those off. I kind of worked my way around and pulled those off. Okay, so we are on the driver's side currently. You can see the valve cover here. So what I'm going to show you, in order to get these off, particularly you can kind of see down right there, kind of see, it's kind of like I'd call it like a Chinese finger trap down there. You kind of see it's over top of the thread right there. Almost impossible to hold it up with your hands. So what I found was a really good tool to use. And this back one, which is the hardest one to get of all, of course. You kind of see how I use that this red tool here in order to get underneath it and pull up. This was the best technique I found to get this off. So I'll kind of demonstrate how I use this. So what this red tool is, it's just something you'd use to pull off like a door panel or any of these type of fasteners that you see that come off. So the way you use it, in order to make this much easier, is you go ahead and you want to put it, the red tool that you go, and I'll kind of show you here. You want to slide it so that it is underneath that one tricky part, just like that. Kind of see, get underneath it, and then you're just going to pull it straight up like that, and that's how I found to get these off. Alright, so once everything's disconnected, you can kind of see there's a little bit of dirt and dust down there. Somebody did a really good job with a paper towel and some cleaner. Go through and clean as much of that dust off as I can. Use a vacuum cleaner as well to get that off too. It's important to try and keep as much dust and contaminants out when you remove this valve cover. Alright, so now that all those wire looms have been disconnected, I'm going to go ahead and start this cleaned off as well. You can also see I have the PVC valve and then this hose are disconnected. The breather lines are disconnected, so we can have everything removed, ready to go. So I found that in order to pull these off, you need either a 11mm or a 7/16 socket. Keep in mind you are going to need a deep socket as well. You can kind of see one of these studs here. It's a little bit longer, so you're going to need a deep socket in order to get down to that nut down there. Alright, so the driver's side valve cover is off. In order to get it off, I found it was easiest to go ahead and pull the first 2 spark plugs. Make sure that you label them. Went ahead and labeled them D2 for the back one, and then D1 for the front one, just to keep them in order. You can see the old gasket on there. I'm going to go through and make sure any dirt I wasn't able to suck up, I'm going to go ahead and pull that off. It's very important to make sure that as much dirt as you can is out of here. Keep this as clean as possible. You can see the top cover's off. A little bit of dirt in there, didn't quite get. So just make sure to go back through there, make sure that it's very, very clean before I put it all back together. Alright, so now that that valve cover is off, I'm going to go ahead and clean up as best I can this mating surface. You can see there's a little bit of old oil on there, so I'm just going to use a little bit of brake clean on a paper towel. Okay, good. Okay, so I'm going to come in here, and then again, being careful not to knock any of the dirt down into where these valve springs are. Come in here, and you're just going to kind of work on the surface. Just try and get it so that it's fairly clean. Just like that. And if you're having trouble with anything, or a paper towel just isn't doing the trick, another option that you can use is if you go down to any store, you can pick up a razor blade. It's great for cleaning up a surface where there's a gasket like this. But okay, now with this blade here, another note when you're ever cleaning up a surface like this, you always make sure that you never gouge. It's very important that the surface is flat as possible so that it can make a good seal. And what you're going to do, go in here just like that, and you're just going to kind of clean up the surface a little bit. Again, just be careful not to gouge. Just take your time. And what you're going to do is clean up the surface just like that. There's a lot of caked on burn oil or it's leaking. Let's come in here, hold it nice and flat, and kind of work this off here. I'm going to get this off like that, and then once I'm pretty confident with it, probably vacuum one last time, and then brake clean one last time. Now, I just wanted to show you what the after cleaning looks like. You can see it's not perfect, but most of that old caked on oil residue is gone. Cleaned it up as best I could, looked out for anything that might have fallen in. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the gasket on here. So here you can see the old gasket compared to new. See there's lots of burn marks in here. Gasket's kind of fallen away from the metal. Right there, you can see. Here's the new one. This is a Fel-Pro. It's one of the best in the business. Particular gasket you can see here. It's the VS50419R. Okay. See a Dodge truck V8. Okay, 1992, 2003. Okay, take you over here. You can see the valve cover. I just want to get this pretty clean going back in. Any dirt trapped around here, I'm going to get all that out. Just use a simple engine degreaser to get some of that grease off the outside at least. Let it soak a little bit, wipe it down, and we'll get it back in there. Alright, so now that the valve cover is back on, new gasket is on, I'm going to go ahead and reinstall all of the screws into here. So whenever you tighten these, there are 10 total, 5 per side, so you want to use a crisscross pattern. I am actually using blue Loctite, which is the vibrational thing. I'm applying a little bit to the fasteners. So what we have is crisscross pattern. So tighten the one in the back on that side, come across and tighten up one of these, and I'll go back down to here, tighten one of these, and then crisscross back. I'm gonna get these so they're all snug first, and I'll come back and fully torque them down. Okay, so now all of the 10 screws are now in place with blue Loctite in them, all hand tightened. Now for the final part of it, I always use a torque wrench. I think it's just it's safer. So you can see here's from the service manual for this particular vehicle. This is for the 5.9 liter. You can see that we have tightening to 95 inch-pounds. Make sure you know this inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. Very big difference. So we got torque wrench here down to 95 inch-pounds. So I go through, usually something like this, I'll typically start with one of the middle screws, like here, tighten this one, and then I'll come out here and again crisscross. So next you would do this one here, come back across, do that that corner one, across here to one of these top ones, crisscross all the way until you have all 10 of these torqued down to the appropriate torque. Alright, so working on the passenger side valve cover now. You can see I have all of the clips removed from all the spark plugs here. One thing that is different on this side compared to the driver's side is that in this back corner here, you can see that there is a grounding wire. So I'm wiggling right now. The grounding wire is going to go. See if you can get it there. See, grounding wire goes to this stud right here. So just make sure when you take this off, make sure that grounding wire goes back on in order to properly ground all the electrical in the truck.